Coming up on the March 16th edition of Sports Extra. Heartbreak in Greensboro. The perfect ending to the ACC tournament was just not meant to be for the Tar Heels. We take a look at how it all happened.
But it's not the end for UNC. There's still the Wild Wild West. And no, I don't mean that awful Will Smith movie. What does the West Regional have in store for the Tar Heels?
And now that the big dance is here, will Carolina make a magical run, or will the Heels have 2 left feet? All that and more. Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
It's March, so that means the madness is upon us. Welcome to a special March Madness edition of Sports Extra. I'm Molly Oak.
And I'm Luis Fernandez. This is the best time of the year. I have goosebumps. Feel my arm.
I'm not going to touch your arm.
All right, that's cool. There's exciting stuff going on, and so much has happened. There's so much to talk about that we had to bring in reinforcements. Joining us to break down postseason play so far is basketball analyst Brett Hot Take Thompson.
What's up, everyone? I don't know if sports get any better than this, but you know, it's not just me here. Fellow basketball analyst Tate Down Goes Frazier is live in studio. Tate?
What an introduction, Brett. You know I'm ready for whatever the tournament is going to throw at us this year. I'm just ready to get talking about it.
Well, not so fast, Tate. Before we get to the NCAA, we need to break down what happened in Greensboro at the ACC tournament. UNC was a 5th seed and earned a first-round bye. So for Carolina, the Coliseum went up on a Wednesday. Carolina tipped off against Boston College, and Bryce Johnson picked up momentum early. Bryce smash! Late in the first half, JP Tokudo with the beautiful alley-oop to Justin Jackson. Ooh. UNC dominated the second half, capped off by some Hickory smoked barbecue. Carolina advances 81-63. All right, Brett, so this is the first win of the tournament. It was expected. Talk about what we learned from Carolina after this win.
Well, what we learned was that where Bryce Johnson goes, this team goes. So Bryce Johnson, he had 17 points, 9 rebounds, and approximately 8 screens. When he plays this effectively and emotionally, the team follows, and it showed against Boston College.
Absolutely. Bryce is one of my favorite players to watch emotionally, and when he's on, he is on. But let's talk about something a little bit different. Things got to a little bit more of a dicey start in the quarterfinals against Louisville. Carolina was able to pull up against the 4th-seeded Cardinals. Marcus Page got things going early with a 3-pointer right there, and then Carolina started the second half strong with this Bryce Johnson slam on the break. But Louisville's Montrezl Harrell came back with the answer. After the teams went back and forth, Kennedy Meeks hit the stick back to put UNC up 7, and Carolina held on 70-60. Now Carolina got a chance to exercise some demons against Louisville. That slide they had in the second half of the season really started with that overtime loss in the Yum Center. So Tate, what really stood out to you in this game?
Well, Molly, speaking of the Yum Center, we remember when Harrell threw down that big dunk and we were all like, well, we may not win this one, and it went to overtime, and it was kind of a downward slide for the team. This time around, we were able to handle the run by Louisville and get away with the win. So that was big for the Tar Heels as far as confidence and as far as moving forward in the tournament.
Good stuff, Tavian. And as awesome as that Louisville win was, it doesn't really stack up against the UVA victory. This was the best team in the ACC during the regular season, probably looking for a #1 seed at the time. And throw in the fact that the Cavs play a slow style that hurts Carolina, the Heels were not supposed to win this game, but they did it anyway. The Heels led the entire game. JP Tokudo set the tone with this dunk off of a steal by Justin Jackson. Get out the way! Justin Jackson, he led the team in points with a career-high 22, including 4 of these from downtown. Bryce Johnson, he's going to clean up and throw down the dunk, get out the way. 2 of his 13 on the night. UVA came within a point in the final minute, but Marcus Page gave him a little shake and bake, and oh, he's so clutch with the floater. Heels win 71-67 and advance. Now, Brett, I know tomorrow is St. Paddy's Day, but the way the Heels are playing, I think you might need to pinch me.
I'm not going to pinch you, sorry, Lewis, but I will say Justin Jackson was so good against UVA. He was 8 of 10 from the field. He was 4 of 5 from three-point range for those 22 points. He was efficient, and he gave Carolina another weapon on offense. Makes things easier for guys like Bryce Johnson and Marcus Page.
And speaking of St. Paddy's Day, the Fighting Irish knocked off the Blue Devils in the semis, and the Irish would end Carolina's amazing ACC run in the finals. Page came ready to play, draining this 3 on his way to a team-high 24 points But the Irish held true to their game plan, moving the ball around the perimeter and hitting from deep all night long. Bryce Johnson scored the last of his 20 points with that slam right here. Oh, would not have been that rim. But it was too little too late. Notre Dame took the ACC tournament title, 90-82. All right, now that we have that recap out of the way, how should the Tar Heel fan base feel about this performance at the tournament? Tate, let's start with you.
Well, first off, Molly, I have to say that I think Pat Connaughton got a little bit of luck from the Leprechauns, and he may himself be a Leprechaun. I'm not sure. But this team should feel great about going to the championship game. They've been there for the past 5 years, and I think moving forward, it's a lot of confidence for the team.
Good points, Tate. Good points, Tate. Brett, do you agree?
I do agree. Going into the tournament, I thought if Carolina can beat Louisville, they will have their confidence restored going into the tournament. They not only beat Louisville, they beat UVA. I didn't think that was possible. They can beat any team in the country when they're on. So, yeah, confidence definitely up.
Well, so with all that in mind, we found out what the bracket looked like yesterday, and boy, UNC doesn't have things easy in the Wild Wild West Regional. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket. The region is loaded with talented teams. Big Ten champion Wisconsin is the number 1 seed, while the Heels are the 4th seed. Carolina will face off against Ivy League champion and 13th seed Harvard in the first round. With that game played in Jacksonville, Florida, Pac-12 champion Arizona, they also loom at the bottom of the region at the number 2 seed, and they are dangerous. All right, Brett, so what are your initial thoughts on this West region?
It's a dangerous region, Lewis. We got Wisconsin, like you said, Big Ten champion. They played great yesterday against Michigan State. They came back in the Big Ten title game. You've also got Arizona. That's a scary team. They're probably the best team in all of the West Coast. Got to look out for them as well.
All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at Carolina's first March Madness opponent. It's Public Ivy versus Private Ivy with the Harvard Crimson. Now, Harvard won the Ivy League in a 1-game playoff against Yale. Tommy Amaker, who is a guard under Duke coach Mike Krzyzewski, coaches the Crimson. Harvard is appearing in its 4th consecutive NCAA tournament, winning its first game in each of the past 2 seasons. Wesley Saunders is a player at Carolina who we will have to watch, as he can shoot it from the 3-point line. Now, Tate, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried should Carolina be about Harvard?
Well, Molly, I'll just go ahead and say it's Harvard and not Harvard. But other than that, I think that the Heels don't have too much to worry about. Harvard has played one top 1 through 50 team this season. That was Virginia. They scored 27 points. But, hey, Wesley Saunders is compared to Jeremy Lin, so you never know what might happen in that game.
So, earlier yesterday, Roy Williams said in a statement that they're not going to look past Harvard. But you know what? We're not Roy Williams. So let's go ahead and take a look at what UNC could be facing in round 2. If they avoid the upset against Harvard, the Tar Heels will face the winner of the 5-12 matchup between number 5 seed Arkansas and number 12 seed Wofford. Arkansas comes into the tournament at 26-8, going 13-5 in the SEC. Bobby Portis leads the attack for the Razorbacks. Portis isn't only Arkansas's top scorer, he also leads the team in rebounding, grabbing almost 9 boards per game. Yikes, almost a double-double. The Wofford Terriers come in as the champs of the Southern Conference, going 28-6 and 16-2 in conference. Wofford topped NC State and Raleigh earlier this year and is led by Carl Cochran, who scores close to 15 points per game. All right, Brett, I assume Carolina fans should be rooting for Wofford, right? What happens if the Razorbacks end up winning?
Well, not so fast on rooting for Wofford. The Terriers beat NC State in Raleigh in Reynolds Coliseum last December, so watch out. They will tear your heart out. But Arkansas, that's another scary team in that 5 seed. They're probably the weakest of the 5 seeds, but they have Bobby Portis, like we said, almost 18 points a game, almost 9 rebounds per game. SEC Player of the Year in a conference with, guys, have you ever heard of Kentucky? Dangerous team, and he's the best player in that conference. Watch out.
All right, well, you've given us a ton of information, guys, but it really is exciting to get this tournament underway. So don't go too far. We'll see you later in the show when we break down how far we think Carolina will go. Basketball analysts Tate Frazier and Brett Thompson, thanks so much for being here. And speaking of brackets, you know half the fun of March is filling out your bracket. Here at Sports Extra, we get pretty competitive, especially this guy right here. And we want to see just how well you guys know your basketball. So that means it's bracket challenge time. Go ahead and visit ESPN.com and click on the bracket challenge. Of course, you'll have to sign up for a free ESPN account to do it. And once you fill out your bracket, go to join groups and search for Sports Extra 2015. We'll update you on the standings throughout the tourney, and the winner will make an appearance on Sports Extra.
That'll be fun for sure. I'm looking for my second Sports Extra
I'm looking to
championship.
beat you this year.
So good luck, everyone.
And now with all the work we've done so far breaking down the tournament, it's always good to get the input of an expert. Earlier today, Lewis sat down with UNC reporter for the News and Observer and the Charlotte Observer, Andrew Carter.
The NCAA tournament is such a big deal, we had to bring in an expert. So we're going to have UNC Athletics beat reporter and for the News and Observer, Andrew Carter, join us now. Andrew, thanks for being here, first off.
Thank you so much for having me, Lewis. I appreciate it. I'm not sure how much of an expert I am, but I'm happy to be here nonetheless.
Well, let's go ahead and get started with the ACC tournament. Overall, what were your thoughts of the Tar Heels' performance? They made a nice run, but ended just short of a championship.
Yeah, I thought in a lot of ways this was the kind of team that we expected UNC to be all season. We saw Marcus Page play really well. He's finally healthy. That's a big difference with him. He's been bothered by the plantar fasciitis for a while. He can finally move, which is a good thing, and kind of penetrate the lane, which is something that he's been unable to do.
So with that momentum, do you think the expectations for UNC in the tournament changed at all? Do you think they can make a farther run now?
So there are just a lot of questions about this team before the ACC tournament that I thought they answered in Greensboro and the way they performed out there. I thought they really showed a lot of their potential. I think now the ceiling is a little bit higher for UNC than people thought it might have been a week ago after that Duke game. And then you look at the draw, I think UNC has a very favorable draw, being paired up with Harvard, which is a team that really, frankly, shouldn't give UNC too much trouble. And then I thought UNC has the weakest of the 5 seeds. If Arkansas happens to beat Wofford, I think that's a good matchup for UNC. So I think at the least North Carolina should be feeling good about its chances to make the West Regional in Los Angeles.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here now, okay? Number one, have you filled out a bracket? And number two, who do you think is going to win it all? Can anyone beat Kentucky?
I have not filled out a bracket. It's very disappointing for me. I've been too busy, honestly, a little bit. I just haven't had the time. I'm not in any bracket contests or anything. I kind of go hot and cold with that now that I do this for a living. I just kind of run out of time with all the writing I have to do and things to attend and this and that. But I'm going to hope to fill out a bracket. And I do think it's going to be very difficult to pick against Kentucky.
If you get a chance to fill out a bracket, you should join the Sports Extra Bracket Challenge. I'm just saying, it'll be a lot of fun. Maybe you can get to come on the show again. All right, Andrew Carter, UNC Athletics beat reporter for the News and Observer. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Lewis. I appreciate you guys having me on.
The tournament starts with 4 play-in games, 2 Tuesday and 2 Wednesday. Earlier this weekend, Sports Illustrated had a very interesting and intense article about the UNC academic scandal.
We'll give you more on that next on Sports Extra.
All season long, and truth be told, for the past 4 years, a dark cloud has hung over the athletics program at UNC. That's because of nearly 20 years of bogus classes designed to help keep revenue athletes eligible. Many UNC fans hope the sobering Weinstein report was the beginning of the end, but this seems to be the scandal that just won't die. A scathing article in today's issue of Sports Illustrated by UNC alum S.L. Price lays out in excruciating detail how the university community continues to suffer. Price is part of that community. He wrote for the DTH when he was a student here in the early 80s. The article is titled, "How Did Carolina Lose Its Way?" The writer suggests that the scandal laid waste to the university's claims that it keeps athletics and academics in perfect balance. Elizabeth Tu has more.
In the article, Price questions the value of UNC degrees and the systems put in place to correct the mistakes highlighted in the Weinstein report. Quote, maybe UNC administrators, deans, and professors thought they could manage the ever-increasing tension between academics and sports because they had done it for so long. For Price, it all comes down to money. At least $16 billion in TV contracts alone funneled into the athletics department revenue last year. And Price questions whether, with all this money, the right way is even possible now. UNC beat writer for the News and Observer, Andrew Carter, agrees.
The reality is that, at any level of college sports, when big money is involved at the ACC level, look at these other major conferences, the SEC, the Big 12, all these schools are doing similar kinds of things to get kids in who are on the margins, to keep them eligible.
University officials maintain the caliber of student athletes has improved. Carter can understand why Price is disappointed.
It's just, I think it's the ruminations of a disappointed alum who's become kind of disillusioned with his university from where he graduated.
And Pulitzer Prize-winning book critic and UNC alum Jonathan Yardley says in the article, quote, "I have hanging in my home office a framed Distinguished Alumnus Award that the university was kind to give me about 25 years ago. It's always been a lot to me, but I look at it now and think, Jesus, do I really want that on my wall?" We reached out to members of the Central Administration, and all were either out of town or unavailable for comment. In Chapel Hill, I'm Elizabeth Chu reporting.
You know, Molly, I mean, it's really difficult. What he said was very strong. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything, but athletics and academics, fundamentally, it's just really tough to balance them. And then when you throw in money, you know, human nature is going to be corruption, and that's unfortunate.
There's a very fine line, and it's definitely hard not to cross it. And it's a flaw that not only UNC is facing, but I think all college athletics are going to have to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see what the faculty does to eradicate this issue. And former UNC reading specialist Bradley Bethel thinks most of the concern comes from an irresponsible media that has whipped up a furor that goes beyond the actual problems the university faces. He's getting ready to produce a documentary titled Unverified. Our Tate Frazier spoke to him about the film.
When you see such harsh accusations in print and you weren't expecting it, it's like a sucker punch. You know, a lot of them felt sucker punched.
Is there anything that you hope to do, maybe going out and talking, like on the university's campus, you know, to students on campus and things of that nature, just to kind of get people to understand that this isn't just, you know, basically UNC making a documentary about, hey, we weren't that bad, you know, kind of thing?
UNC made some mistakes, and this is something I've said from the beginning. UNC made some mistakes, but not to the extent, not as egregious as what the story has been. And so that's what we're trying to clarify. We're trying to bring this documentary is about bringing clarity to a situation that we think an irresponsible press has obfuscated.
The DTH editorial board and Bethel are in a bit of a spat. The board says his project isn't worthy of support. He says the student newspaper is part of the problem. And as great as Carolina basketball was this weekend, there was one athlete who might have topped even that, finishing off an amazing season.
We hear more about her incredible national showing next on Sports Extra. The UNC women's basketball team would give coach Sylvia Hatchell her first ACC tournament win since returning to coaching with a beatdown of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The Heels would win the game handily behind Stephanie Mavunga, who flirted with a triple-double and finished with 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 blocks. Wow. The Heels would play Louisville Cardinals in the quarterfinals, and the two teams would trade leads until the shot by Jamie Terry. It's up and it's in, on to overtime. Sadly, Che was all out of miracles in overtime, missing this desperation shot to win the game. So the men's tournament selection night was yesterday. Tonight is Selection Monday for the women's tournament. Bracketologists differ about where the Lady Heels will be seated, as ESPN.com has Carolina as a 5 seed facing Quinnipiac out of Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. However, CollegeSportsManus.com has the Heels seated 4th facing American University out of the Patriot League. That's much easier to say. The real bracket reveal is tonight at 7 on ESPN.
7 Tar Heels competed at the NCAA Division I Track and Field Indoor Championships this weekend at the University of Arkansas. The women placed 26th overall. Xenia Ron took 3rd place in the pentathlon with 4,450 points, making her 7th best in the NCAA history and 17th best in the world this year. Lizzie Whelan placed 6th in the 800-meter run with a time of 2:05.61. The men's 4x400 relay team finished 6th, earning All-America status for the 2nd straight indoor season. Sutton, Ways, Selman, and Lipsy ran the relay, and AJ Hicks threw 20.8 meters in the men's weight throw to place 10th and give him 2nd team All-America honors. The men's program placed 51st overall. An indoor season has come to a close, but there will be no breaks for these athletes, with the outdoor season beginning Friday at home. Let's go live now to Kendra Douglas, live at Irwin Belk Track with one of the top pentathletes in the country. Kendra?
Thanks, Molly. Now, Xenia, on Saturday, you had an outstanding performance, from breaking pre-Rs and setting new records. Tell me, how did it happen?
Thank you so much. Well, we've been working towards this meet all season long. I've been putting up good performances throughout the season, and now it just finally came together in one meet, which is pretty awesome.
Definitely. Now, the pentathlon is one of the hardest events that I think is on track. Tell me, what's your favorite event of all 5 of them?
For me, it's only just one event. It's the pentathlon. So, but if I would have to pick, I would probably pick the hurdles because it's my strongest event and it's exciting.
Now, when you were running the 800, you were sitting third. Were you more nervous or was it just relaxing for you?
I was actually less nervous because I was having a good meet before the 800, and Langley gave me a time I had to stay in with the competitor, like the Arkansas girl. He gave me 5 seconds towards her, so I just had to run, and in the end it was who wanted it more, and I was able to keep the position.
Definitely. So we are excited for outdoor season. I hope you break some more records, and I can't wait to see you run.
Thank you.
And back to you, Molly.
That was Kendra Douglas live at Irwin Belk Track. Thanks, Kendra.
UNC, that's right, University of National Champions. Jared Carter tells you about the national championship you might not have heard about.
The UNC all-girls club cheerleading team can go by a different name now, CheerSport National Champions. The team's impressive performance at the National Championship in Atlanta added to the collection of hardware brought home by Carolina Athletics. This group of ladies knows the importance of pushing yourself to do your best.
It's all student motivated, so everyone that's on this team wants to be here. We don't have a coach or parents pushing us to do something.
And embraces the challenge of performing on a big stage.
You just kind of get in a crowd and you just put on a show. You can't be scared because there's a billion people staring at you, but it doesn't really matter because you're only there for yourself and your team. It's not like anyone else is going to say anything else about you.
Although the Tar Heels have boasted recent success, their club's sport budget presents many challenges as they have to fund a majority of the cost.
It is kind of hard that we have to pay for most of it, especially because competitions and travel and everything is not cheap.
The Heels narrowly emerged victorious at CheerSport, winning by 1/100th of a point, and that has these Heels hungry for more. The team is hoping to secure a top 5 finish in the Daytona Cheerleading Nationals, April 8th through the 12th.
That's the NCAA Collegiate Championship, and that's pretty much a national college competition that's only going to be colleges, and you compete against people from all over the United States, sometimes internationally.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Jarrett Corder reporting.
The competition will be stiff in Daytona. Teams have to send in a video to even be considered.
I'm not sure if we mentioned this already, but March Madness has begun.
When we come back, we'll bring back our experts and predict how far Carolina can go in the big dance. Welcome back to a very crowded sports Xtra. We've brought back basketball analyst Brett Thompson and Tate Frazier. Now, we've gone over the region and possible opponents, but how far do we think Carolina will go? Tate, let's start with you.
Well, Lewis, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I don't think we're going to go too far, but I do think it's going to be pretty sweet. We're going to get to the Sweet 16, and Frank Kaminsky and the Wisconsin Badgers may end our run.
Oh, sounds a little rough.
All right, Brett, now what are you thinking about this whole tournament?
Well, I guess if the Tar Heels are sweet, we know that, but are they elite? I think they're elite. I think Carolina beats Wisconsin, goes to the Elite Eight, but they'll run into the buzzsaw that is freshman Stanley Johnson in Arizona. They're not making it to the Final Four, but they'll get close. I'm confident.
I think you boys have it all wrong. It's all about the mascots. You got to go mascot versus mascot. I think Crimson's going to take us down. We're going down round 2 to Harvard.
Wow, okay. That's an interesting way to look at it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'm going to say. But I think that we're very good, and it's very difficult because UNC has the possibility to go as far as they want in the tournament. I could see Elite 8. I can see Sweet 16. I could see Final Four. But the problem is I don't think they're going to play consistently at the level that we need. And I'm going to agree with you, Tate. I think that they're going to lose in the Sweet 16 to Wisconsin. Frank Kaminsky is just too much to handle, and the way they shot threes against Michigan State, I don't think we can keep up.
It's too much cheese, Lewis. Too much cheese.
All right, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the madness. Have a good night.